Hey, if your goal is to live long and live well, and if you want to avoid the pain and suffering from heart disease, then you need to know about the right foods to eat to beat disease. And today I'm going to talk about the 5 foods that you can easily incorporate into your life to lower your cholesterol and prevent heart disease. And don't forget, if you're enjoying my content, to hit the subscribe button to my channel. Ready? Let's just jump right in. The first food is oats, like oatmeal. Now, how are oats beneficial to your heart? This is an area that I'm actually doing research in right now. Oats are one of the best known foods for lowering cholesterol, particularly the bad form of cholesterol called LDL cholesterol. The LDL stands for low density lipoprotein. But don't worry about memorizing that. It's called LDL cholesterol. It's what you actually see in your blood test when the results come back. And LDL cholesterol is the kind of cholesterol that builds up on the lining of your arteries, narrowing them, kind of like clogging up a drain in your kitchen sink, and eventually clogging up the arteries. And that's really what is actually going on to cause heart disease. Think about LDL like grease and grime. You know, you're washing your oily plates and pots and pans and it goes into the sink and it drains down. Once or twice, not a big deal. All right. You keep on doing it day in and day out or week after week. And guess what happens? That sink, the water's not going to actually flow down as well because it's covered. There's grime all over the walls of the pipes draining your sink and it'll get clogged. All right. Now, in your artery, when you have that kind of clogging by cholesterol, specifically LDL cholesterol, what that does is that it actually narrows the amount of blood that can actually flow through. And because this is actually a very inflammatory kind of narrowing, it causes inflammation in your blood vessels as well. And you know, inflammation is a root cause of a lot of different diseases, but especially heart disease and cardiovascular disease. And the other thing is that this is happening to your heart. Guess what? You got 60,000 miles worth of blood vessels in your body, including in your brain. So what's happening in your heart is also happening in your brain and your other organs as well. All right. And that's why we actually, even though we call it cardiovascular disease, the cardio part's just connected to the heart, but it actually affects the entire rest of your body. Now, another name that we give this kind of clogging problem of the blood vessels is called atherosclerosis. We used to call the plaques, the narrowing, the heart, like specific areas that were narrowing, that were really bulging out. We used to call them atheromas, but actually it's happening everywhere. And this actually is important because it's an avoidable type of cardiovascular disease. And the reason that it's important to avoid, all right, and reverse, by the way, you can reverse this, is that when you have the narrowing in of the arteries down, down, down. So think about that as a tube, narrows further and further and further, right? Now, eventually you get real blockage. But if a piece of the clogging breaks off, it slams shut like a trap door. Now, instantly, you have zero blood flow, and that's a heart attack. All right. If it happens in your heart, if it happens in your brain, that's a stroke. An ischemic stroke is what we call it. And that can actually be a crippling event or a lethal event. For all these reasons, it's important to be able to prevent that sink from blocking up by preventing the narrowing. Okay. And that's why it's so important to lower your bad LDL cholesterol. Now, I got to tell you, since we're talking about cholesterol, not all cholesterol is bad. Now, way back, going back 20, 30 years, any cholesterol was thought to be bad, right? That's why people said, don't have shrimp and don't have squid because it's got high in cholesterol. Actually, the type of cholesterol matters because some types of fatty foods actually contain good cholesterol or help you get more good cholesterol. The good cholesterol you want is called HDL cholesterol, good cholesterol, HDL. That stands for high density lipoprotein. HDL cholesterol is good, LDL is bad. Again, don't worry about memorizing the details of it, but HDL good, LDL bad. All right. And what HDL cholesterol does and why it's the good cholesterol is it's kind of the street sweeper. It sweeps away all the bad LDL cholesterol and then gets rid of it. Just toss it into your liver and your liver actually gets rid of it. Okay. This helps you prevent narrowing of your arteries. So this is when you get your blood test at a doctor's office and you look for the cholesterol levels, the lipid panel is what we call it. You want low LDL or bad cholesterol. That's the stuff that accumulates on the walls of your arteries, low LDL cholesterol. And you want high good cholesterol, which is the HDL cholesterol. Good, high HDL, H for high, or which is good cholesterol, low for the LDL for bad. All right, the HDL makes it easy to remember. All right, and that's why total cholesterol, which can be important, that's another value you'll see in your blood test. Total cholesterol is important. You got huge amounts of total cholesterol. That's not going to be good for you. But whatever amount of cholesterol you have, even healthy amounts, you don't want too much LDL and not enough HDL. So that ratio is actually quite important. So that's what you want to pay attention to. If you go and get your blood test and you go, I have no idea what it means, now you are starting to have a clue of how to look at your blood lipids. Up to you to actually figure it out for yourself. Sometimes your doctor doesn't even call you about it or doesn't explain it to you. I've just explained it to you. You want low LDL and high HDL for that reason of sweeping away the bad guys and preventing the bad cholesterol from accumulating in your wall. Now, this high levels of LDL are why the clogging type of cholesterol is why doctors prescribe statins. Now, statins are a class of drugs that were once considered revolutionary because you know what they do? They lower your cholesterol, right? But drugs are not the only thing that can lower cholesterol. Guess what? Oats can also lower cholesterol, all right? Think oatmeal, oat milk, all right? Lots of different things you can actually do. Oat cookies, all right? You can actually do it. And the way that oats lower cholesterol is that they have a bioactive, a natural chemical in them called beta glucan. All right. Beta glucan, which is naturally found in oats, is a kind of soluble fiber. Now, you may remember that fiber is good for your gut, right? So you may have heard that fiber keeps you regular because it actually helps you keep moving your stool. So eventually you're going to go to the bathroom on a regular basis. But fiber has another really, really important property, which is that fiber in your gut, soluble fiber, okay, there's insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. Oats have soluble fiber. That fiber in your gut, lower in your gut, forms a gel. And that gel, which you'll never see, it's sliding down through your intestines. That gel binds to and sops up cholesterol that might be in your gut and prevents it from being absorbed into your bloodstream. That's one of the reasons you can actually keep down total cholesterol by eating oats, right? Bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, that's one way to actually do it. And studies have shown that just eating 3 grams, just 3 grams of soluble fiber, like you can get from oats every day, can lower the LDL, the bad cholesterol in your blood, by 5 to 10%. All right? Not a statin, but it actually can lower the bad cholesterol in the way that you want by something you can actually stick into your meal plan every single day. All right. And every little bit counts when it comes to heart health, right? And oats can do it without having to take a drug. Now, if your doctor actually prescribes a statin, you may need to actually gang up the oats on top of it to make it work better. And the goal might be to actually come off of statins altogether, right? So make sure you work with your doctor on this, and don't not take the medicine if your doctor says you need it. That's very important to listen to your doctor. Okay, but the next time you're thinking about what to eat for breakfast, try a bowl of oatmeal. Now, I love oatmeal, and I'll tell you, when I was a kid growing up, my parents would fix me a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, and I thought, it's kind of like this porridge. It's pretty bland. Sometimes when I was a kid, I would just skip it, right? Now, I still sometimes skip breakfast a few times a week. Skipping breakfast, by the way, is good for your metabolism. It actually extends the period of intermittent fasting. Fasting you're doing overnight. When you're sleeping, you're not eating. When you're not eating, you're fasting. So when you're sleeping at night, naturally you're fasting. And because you don't sleep all day long, you're intermittently sleeping. You're intermittently fasting, right? So it's not a trend. It's not a crazy thing. It's very, very natural. But when you skip breakfast, the time that you're not eating, you extend it until you actually start to eat. So that's really good for your metabolism. It keeps your body burning down harmful body fat. All right. So we were starting to talk about reducing the risk of heart disease. That's another way to actually lower your risk by burning off the extra fat that you have in your body, in the tube of your body, your visceral fat, just by skipping breakfast a few times a week. But let's talk about when you do eat breakfast, all right? When I do it, I actually like to make a bowl of oatmeal for myself now. Now, let's get real practical because I like to cook and I enjoy tasty food. So I want to share with you some of my own tips on this. You can get like whole steel cut oats and you got to soak them overnight because they're really dry. It might take overnight for them to soak so you can cook them the next day. You don't want to be spending, like hours cooking oats. Who's got time for that in the morning, right? So you can soak them overnight. But here's my trick. I get rolled oats, all right, that are already rolled out flat. They're steamed and rolled out flat and then they're dried. They are pretty much already cooked. They cook really quickly in minutes. All right. So that's the kind that I prefer because I'm a busy guy and I don't have a lot of time to mess around with breakfast. So the rolled oats, for example, has already been steamed and dried, as I said. They cook in 5 to 7 minutes. You're really just kind of hydrating or getting the liquid inside the oats, and you wind up with a nice base of plain oatmeal. Okay. Now, the time thing is a big advantage for me for oatmeal, knowing that oats are good for me with that soluble fiber that can lower my bad cholesterol. But still, even as an adult, I can tell you a bowl of plain oatmeal, pretty bland, all right? Not very interesting for me. So how do you actually light it up with some flavor and some juiciness? Okay, this is where you want to get some seasonal fruits that are ripe. Okay, it doesn't matter what the season is. If it's in the summer, get some peaches. If it's in the winter, get some pears, that kind of a thing. Okay, or citrus. Just cut up some fresh seasonal fruit and top your oatmeal with it. All right, you get the sweetness of the fruit. You get the polyphenols from the fruit. You get the dietary fiber from the fruit, which is also good for your gut microbiome. And then you get the oats with the soluble fiber, which is actually good for lowering your cholesterol and also good for your gut microbiome, for gut health. All of that helps it make your metabolism smoother, helps to lower your cholesterol, helps to make your body more insulin sensitive. So now your metabolism is better. You're utilizing glucose a lot better. That we hear all this talk about glucose spikes and glucose crashes. I don't like to use that kind of language because it doesn't really represent what's actually happening in your body. Our glucose goes up and goes down, it goes up. Nobody wants a spike and crash, and that's kind of fear language that I try to stay away from. Doesn't happen for most people. But if you want to have it evened out as much as possible and controlled most of the time, gut health that you can get with oatmeals, for example, with all those toppings, fresh fruit, seasonal fruit, that can actually help you get in that direction. Now, I actually like the natural sweetness from seasonal fruit or berries. Strawberries, blueberries all year round are great toppings for it. And I love the polyphenols that come from the berries. Strawberries have ellagic acid. Blueberries actually have anthocyanins. Both are actually good for immunity, lowering inflammation, getting good defensive immunity. Guess what? Now both strawberries and blueberries have been shown to be good for brain health as well. Cognitive function. Hey, where did I leave my keys? All right. So keep that in mind, as you're thinking about what you're going to top your oatmeal with. All right. Good for gut health. Gut health is good for lowering inflammation and good for brain health. And I just told you a simple move that I make for my breakfast using oatmeal and cut fresh fruits that's good for my heart, good for my gut, and good for my brain all at the same time. And you don't have to think about it. Just know that a bowl of oatmeal with fruit is actually good. Now, I'm somebody who likes a little crunch to my food, all right? So what do? I will sometimes sprinkle some crushed tree nuts, crushed pecans, crushed pistachios. I love pistachios. Crushed walnuts. You can sprinkle that on top of the fruit. And now you're actually adding healthy fats from the nuts. These are monounsaturated fats. Also helps to lower bad cholesterol. All right. And you're getting more dietary fiber. You're really feeding your gut bacteria, which is going to help you even more. All right. The dietary fiber of nuts is actually really, really important. So this is one way that I can boost my gut health. And the thing is by shoring up my immune system, it protects me against bacteria and viruses from outside of the body, the things that cause flu, colds, etc. But the other thing is that a good, strong immunity, good, strong gut health protects me from invaders on the inside of my body, which is cancer cells as well. So just, know that gut health, immune health, heart health, good brain health is all connected. Starts with a bowl of oatmeal. That's what I like to do. All right. Now, here's something really important. This is like a pro tip I'm telling you. All right. Because you're going to go buy oatmeal, you're going to go into the middle aisle of the grocery store, and they have all these packets of pre-seasoned, pre-sweetened, pre-added with little dried fruit bits oatmeal. Like, actually, I grew up with that kind of stuff. Rip it open, throw it down, add some boiling water. Bing, you're done, right? Okay, don't do it. Don't buy those packets, pre-made packets, because they're ultra processed already. They're packed with a machine, preloaded with added sugar, dried fruit bits. You don't know how those fruit bits were actually created or treated, if they were sweetened themselves, and what chemicals that were used to treat those fruit bits. And some of these packets actually have artificial flavorings, artificial coloring, and other artificial preservatives and chemical preservatives. You don't need that if you just get a plain can of rolled oats. And just, I like things kind of plain and pure when I'm starting with it. I will make the decision, thank you very much, of what I'm actually going to top with it. Is it a little more convenient to have everything in a pack? Maybe, but think about what you're missing. You're missing all that information of like what went through, what else is in that package, and what went through the bits that are in there. So don't do it. That kind of convenience is not worth it because, like I said, in 10 minutes, you can actually make a delicious bowl of oatmeal. Just get the can or box of plain rolled or steel cut oats. Steel cut, you got to soak the night before. Your heart will thank you for it. Okay, next food we're going to talk about is barley. I love barley. It's a great food. And guess what? Barley also has beta-D-glucan, just like oats. And guess what it does? It lowers bad cholesterol. Again, the beta-D-glucan forms a gel in your gut. That gel binds up the cholesterol, and the beta-glucan, so that you don't absorb in your bloodstream. And the beta-glucan also helps to improve the health of your gut bacteria, your gut microbiome, which then lowers your lipids, good for heart health, all right? Lowers inflammation, good for heart health, and improves your metabolism, good for heart health. Bing, 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 check, check, check. This is a way to check all those boxes for heart health. And, in as much as oatmeal is super simple for breakfast, barley, amazing. You can actually make it into a stew, all right? It's so easy, and I love barley dishes. Now, what's the clinical evidence, though? That's actually really important. Well, a clinical study in Japan looked at 44 people. These were men who were heavy. They were obese. And they found that if they gave them a meal with rice and pearl barley every day for 12 weeks, okay, that's 3 months, they had a drop in their total cholesterol by 5%, okay, and their bad LDL cholesterol went down by 4%. Now, here's the thing. No statins added to this, all right? This is just naturally using that method I'm telling you, beta-glucan from barley in this case, but oats in the one that I gave you before, forming that gel, binding up the bad cholesterol and just shooting it out the poop chute, not in your bloodstream. And now you're lowering your bad cholesterol, which then means that you're lowering your risk of heart disease because you have less bad, sticky LDL cholesterol to clog up your arteries. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, in that study, by the way, the subjects who didn't have any barley, they had zero change in their blood cholesterol. So it's the barley that did the trick. You've probably had barley soup at some point in your life. I love barley soup. Barley and mushroom soup, one of my favorites. Make it with some bone broth. Now you get some collagen as well in there. Collagen helps to build, it's good for skin health, good for hair health, good for connective tissue and joints. Man, that's a really good combination, right? Barley, mushrooms, and by the way, mushrooms also have beta-glucan, so you're really adding it up. So if you just look at the foods that I've been talking about, it tastes pretty good. But I'm just telling you, there's real food as medicine research to tell us why these are great choices to make that can be good for heart health and immune health and metabolic health as well. all right? And they both lower inflammation, which is the other thing I told you. When you're clogging up your arteries, it causes your blood vessels, the vasculature of your body, to be inflamed. Vascular inflammation, super dangerous, okay, for heart attack, stroke, other chronic diseases as well. I want to say something about barley because it's been around a long time. Not a fad, not a trend. It's a grain that's been cultivated for more than 2,000 years. And you may know this already, but barley's been used to make beer. Barley's made to use bread. You can make barley into soup, as I said, or even stews. It can even be an alternative to pasta or even rice. You might even see a barley risotto on a menu of an Italian restaurant that's actually trying to be a little forward in with the ingredients they use. My point being that when you see barley in the menu, think, maybe that's got some beta glucan that's good for my heart health because it lowers cholesterol, all right, and also inflammation. And so that's all good, all right. Now, if you're going to buy barley in a grocery store, you're going to find it in the middle aisle near the rice. I like to talk about the practical stuff, right? So whatever I tell you, you're going to say, so what do I do? What am I supposed to do with that information? So go to the grocery store, you go to the middle aisle, you're going to find the barley near wherever they're selling rice. And here's the thing, you're going to see two kinds of barley in the grocery store, usually. You're going to have hulled barley, Hulled, hulled, all right, and pearl barley, all right. Hull sounds like it's got a husk, and pearl sounds like it's shiny. And that's exactly what it is. Hulled barley is the whole grain version of the barley, okay? And this is where, only the last bit of the outside covering that's not edible has been removed. But you get the rest of it. It's got all the layers, all right? The bran, the germ. These are all things, if you look up on Google, whole grain, you'll get with hulled barley, you'll get the bran and the grain, or germ of the barley. And it's got more nutrients because those parts all have their own nutrients and that's why whole grains are better than refined grains, where you remove all the outer layers, all right? But the key thing you need to know, if you get hulled barley, is that it does take a little longer time to cook, all right? The other kind of barley that you can get is called pearled barley, all right? You're going to find that in the middle aisle, and it's called pearled because most of the outer layer, the bran and the germ, has been removed, and then the barley is polished, okay? Like the rocks that people used to polish, like, you say, my grandfather used to polish rocks with a tumbler. Well, barley gets polished as well, and it gets shiny, and that's why it's called pearled, all right? Little bit less nutrient dense than the hulled barley, but still it's got good stuff in it. Or it does have the beta glucan. But here's the advantage. It cooks a lot faster and the texture is a little bit softer. I actually kind of like it a little bit better, tastes better to me than kind of like chewy al dente kind of a hulled barley. So it's up to you. Both actually have beta glucan. The pearl barley, softer, cooks a little faster. The flavor is a little more subtle, which is what I actually like. But both are great. All right, depends on the recipe. All right, so besides barley and mushroom soup, I like barley's added to a stew. So if you're going to make a vegetable stew, once you got it all done, throw a handful of barley in. Now you're actually adding some health and some texture, some chewiness to it. It's going to be great. Okay, I love it. Anytime I see a stew, if it's got some barley in it, or a soup, got some dark barley, I'm looking forward to actually having it. I don't know, it just tastes great to me. All right. And you can also take barley that's been cooked, just boiled in water or some bone broth or some vegetable stock. Boil it up, make it soft, cool it off, and you can throw it onto a salad. All right. And now you've actually got a topping for a salad. You can add some spices and herbs and other veggies on top of that. So that's another way of actually taking a plain old green salad and lighting it up with a little bit more interesting flavor and texture. And barley will absorb whatever you're actually putting into it. So some dressing will make it light up in one way. Some stock will make it taste in a different way. So that's an easy way of doing it. Oh, by the way, another salad topping, like cook the barley, cool it off, chop some veggies, add a drizzle of extra olive oil, squeeze a little lemon juice on it, and maybe like a little chopped parsley. All these have bioactives that are good for you, all right? And that's actually all by itself, without any extra greens. You could actually make your own barley salad without topping anything. Make the barley its own salad, All right. So this is the tasty way to make something that you can bring for a work lunch. It's super easy. You don't have to heat it up. And you can just look for a recipe online for a barley salad. All right. I would actually recommend that. Again, beta glucan. It's good for lowering your cholesterol, good for heart health. All right. And by the way, if you want to add some protein to it, like chicken or chickpeas, all right, now you can mix it into the barley salad and you're getting some more texture, some more protein, and you're just adding more nutrition to it. That's what I think you should think about doing. Food number 3. Okay, this is for cholesterol lowering and heart health. One of my favorites. Are you ready? Lentils. Lentils. Now, lentils are legumes, right? They've been cultivated for thousands of years. Ancient Greeks had lentils. Egyptians ate lentils. I think they found lentils in the Colosseum when they were doing excavation, like the gladiators ate lentils as well. And the reason lentils are so healthy for you, okay, is that they're packed with this soluble fiber, just like barley and oats. And for this reason, eating lentils can help you lower cholesterol levels, all right? And it's good for heart health as well. Same, lowers inflammation, improves gut health because of the fiber, boosts your immunity, all right? This is how these simple foods that we've been talking about are so good for lowering your cholesterol, but also helping you get good heart health. Lentils are a really good one. Now, the other thing you should know about lentils that gives them an advantage, they are packed with protein, all right? And you want to keep up with your protein. If you're over 40 years old, you need to add more protein to your diet. But if you don't want to do it with meat, which, people should be cutting back on their meat consumption, you can substitute, to get the protein, you can substitute lentils into your diet in order to get the tastiness of the legume, but without the saturated fat from the meat. Now, their lentils, even though they're so tiny, all right, they also have some other secret treasures inside them. And 2 of them are bioactives that we call carotenoids. One of them is called lutein, Lutein. The other one is called zeaxanthin, Zeaxanthin. Lutein and zeaxanthin. Now, why do I think that these are important? Well, it's because medical research has shown that these 2 carotenoids, lutein and zeaxanthin, are good for vision health. You want to live long? You want to have good eyesight, right? Because that would not be a good thing if you got to a ripe old age, but you couldn't see, right? Can't read, can't recognize, can't see anything. You want to be independent. You need really good vision, especially as you get older. Now, the most common cause of vision loss in people who are over the age of 60 is something called age-related macular degeneration, AMD. You've probably seen television ads on AMD. All right, it's a real condition. And you know what it's caused by? It's caused by blood vessels growing where they shouldn't grow in your eye. And these blood vessels are very leaky. They leak fluid and they mess up the nerve layer in the back of your eye so you can't see. Even though light will get to your eye, it can't be processed and get into your brain, all right? So guess what? Lutein and zeaxanthin that are actually found in lentils are a good food to add if you want to actually lower the risk for this condition. Now, here's the practical part again. What kind of lentils should I get? Well, you're going to see a lot of different kinds of lentils when you go to the middle aisle of the grocery store where they keep them near the beans usually. And they're dried, okay? So they might be a can, they might be in a jar, might be in a bag. You're going to find different colors. There's green lentils, red lentils, black lentils. They all taste a little bit different. They cook very similarly, and they look different when you're actually cooking them. So it's really up to you. I think that you're going to have to experiment with them to see which ones actually suit your taste the best, and then choose them. They all actually can help to lower cholesterol and improve heart health. Now, different cuisines have different recipes for lentils. You can look on Google for a French lentil recipe. Really delicious. Or Indian lentil recipes, all right? Check that out. Middle Eastern dishes use lentils. Even African dishes have lentils. Now, I know you might say, look, I don't want to deal with all those fancy different types of cultures. Look up just plain lentils. You can boil lentils in vegetable stock and add some cut carrots and celery, and put some herbs that you'd find from the garden herbs, right? So rosemary, thyme, oregano. Those are pretty basic ones. And if you have dried, they also work. And boil them up until the lentils are cooked. And it's absolutely delicious. That's a simple way of doing it. Okay. But I actually encourage you to explore. I love exploring dishes from different parts of the world. If you haven't had an Ethiopian dish called kik, all right, these are cooked yellow lentils. They're absolutely delicious. All right. They just kind of like are in a pool on your dish. And you know what you do to eat the Ethiopian lentil dish? You take a special kind of bread called injera, all right? And it's like a flat bread, except that it's kind of moist. Just pick it up in your hand and you just pinch it, and you pick up some of the cooked yellow lentils and you eat it along with the fermented injera bread. You know what's cool about that? That injera bread is fermented bread, great for your gut microbiome. It's a probiotic food, fermented foods. Lentils have got dietary fiber, good for gut health, all right? Double benefit for your gut. And now the lentils are also lowering your bad cholesterol. Awesome, right? And it just tastes great. The spices are amazing. So when you're eating lentils, you're probably going to have them with spices, but you can add the lentils to a soup or a stew or cook them alone. And by the way, I told you sort of like this basic recipe of lentil stew: carrots, celeries, onion, garlic, add a little cumin. That actually is classic for helping to enhance the flavor of a lentil dish. And add some rosemary or thyme. That actually will make a great stew. Cook it down, make sure the lentils are done. And guess what? When you make them, you're probably going to actually have enough to have leftovers for the next day for lunch. So they're inexpensive, easy to make. They don't take a lot of attention. And then you're going to have leftovers. So now you've actually saved yourself cooking or saved money from buying another meal the next day. And they're a great source of protein as well, that also lowers your cholesterol and also good for heart health.
Hey there. I have a valuable resource that you won't want to miss. It's all about the 5 signs that your legs and your feet may be warning you about poor health. Your legs and feet can give you important clues about your overall health, especially when it comes to your circulation. If you want to learn more about these warning signs and how to take action, click on the link below the video to access this essential information. Or you can access the guide by scanning the QR code on the screen right now. Now, let's get back to the video.
All right, my 4th food, avocado. Avocado, healthy type of fat called MUFA, M-U-F-A, monounsaturated fatty acid. All right, MUFAs, guess what they do? They lower your LDL bad cholesterol. All right, that's the cholesterol, remember, that sticks to the walls of your arteries and blocks those arteries. So eating avocados with healthy MUFA fats helps to lower your bad cholesterol, and they help to maintain your good HDL cholesterols at higher levels as well. And clinical studies have shown that eating just 1 avocado a day can prevent LDL cholesterol from being oxidized. All right. Now, this is something that happens in your bloodstream. You don't even know about it. All right. But oxidation of LDL cholesterol. So you're walking around, you don't know we've got bad cholesterol or not, but you're going to have some LDL bad cholesterol. If it gets oxidized in your blood, okay, that makes the LDL cholesterol even more dangerous, more likely to stick to the walls of your arteries, more likely to cause clogging. Now, I made a video about avocados before, and if you want to learn more about them, I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check it out. All right, there's a whole thing I talked about avocados. But there's a lot of great ways to eat avocado. And for me, I like to keep avocado super simple. Avocado toast. All right. It's like Mother Nature's butter. You just open up an avocado and spread a layer of this creamy, ripe avocado. I love to spread it on sourdough toast. Add just a little pinch of sea salt. And because I like to light up my palate a little bit, my taste buds, sprinkle some chili flakes, add a little extra virgin olive oil, squeeze a lemon. Now you've got a pretty sexed up avocado toast. Great tasting, metabolism activating, cholesterol lowering, breakfast that people are going to say, hey, if they see you eating that, they're going to say, hey, can I have some of that? All right. And easy to make too. Of course, you can make a guacamole out of avocado, or you can just slice it up into a taco. All right. Lots of different ways to eat avocado. Don't eat just things, the one thing in the same way all the time. Mix it up. All right. And just make sure you're preparing it in healthy ways. Now, here's a pro tip. How do you know that you're getting a ripe avocado when you go to the grocery store, right? They're just piled up like cannonballs, like small cannonballs in the produce section. Well, what you do is you pick one up and squeeze it. And it should yield slightly to a squeeze, meaning it's a little soft, not very soft, okay? And that's how you know it. And if you happen to buy like really, really firm avocados that aren't ripe yet, here's how you ripen them at home, all right? Don't put them in the fridge. Put them in a paper bag, all right, like in one of those old lunch bags, brown bags. Add a banana or an apple into it. And what happens is that the banana or apple will release gases as they ripen themselves. And the gas is called ethylene gas, trapped in a paper bag along with the avocado. And that ethylene gas from the apple or banana will speed up the ripening of the avocado. Okay. And if you find the avocado is getting too ripe, you want to slow that process down, take them out of the bag, stick them in the fridge. The cool temperatures will slow it down. All right. And sometimes with Hass avocados, the color of the avocado can actually tell you when it's more ripe. Avocados start kind of greenish and they get darkish. When a Hass avocado, HAAS avocado is ripe, it's like almost black. So look for the color, can also be a telltale sign. All right. Food number 5 for cholesterol lowering. Tree nuts, almonds, walnuts, pistachios, pecans, macadamias, cashews. I love them all, okay? For me, they're kind of like snack foods, but they contain healthy fats as well as dietary fiber. And both dietary fiber and healthy fats, you know what? Good for gut health, feeds your gut microbiome, helps to lower harmful LDL blood cholesterol. Again, that's the kind that clogs the arteries. You see, the theme is pretty easy to think about here. And, nuts you can eat super simple. Like I told you, I don't like to be too fussy with my food. I learned that, by the way, when I did a gap year. I spent some time in the Mediterranean, and I watched how people cooked, and I learned how to cook there as well. You just take, it's just plain tree nuts and put them in a cast iron or a stainless steel pan, put them on the stove, and you got to watch it, heat it up, and shake it around and just toast them up a little bit, all right? Or put them on a cookie sheet and don't really bake them, but heat them up until they basically get lightly toasted. Toaster oven can do the same thing. Now you've got kind of like a crispiness to it, all right? And it's a little bit cooked on the outside. If you're going to buy nuts, buy them plain, like in the bulk section, and then you roast them at home. And I think roasting, again, brings out a little more flavor. You can eat them as a snack, all right? And then you can season with whatever you want. If you want to make it savory, add some spices and herbs or chili or whatever you want to do to make them. Don't buy the pre-bagged, pre-seasoned kind that, like the barbecue. It's got this crazy nuclear color to it. If you're going to buy that kind of stuff, please look at the ingredient label and see what's in there. When you see those additives or those artificial coloring or flavoring or preservatives, probably something you want to do. I just buy bulk nuts. I toast them myself. All right. And then if I want to make my own trail mix, I'll tell you what I do. I would add dried cranberries to it or dried blueberries with my favorite tree nuts or even a mix of nuts. And then if you really want to actually, so this dried fruits actually contain fruit skin that's dried on them and shrunk down. They contain the polyphenols from the dried fruits, right? Remember I told you blueberries good for the immune system. Cranberries good for bladder health as well, all right? So, and then you want to sort of do something else heart healthy. Dark chocolate is heart healthy, okay? And if you want to cut up some small bits of dark chocolate, put them into that nut and dried fruit mix, you got yourself a homemade super healthy trail mix. That's what you should bring to work to snack on. Don't buy that pre-made stuff, all right? Oh, by the way, you can take some of these toasted tree nuts and just crush them up and sprinkle them on to some whole yogurt or oatmeal, like I told you, for that little extra crunchy texture, all right? Now, here is something else that you want to really, really know is when you're buying nuts, don't buy too much at a time. It's tempting when you go to the bulk section to buy like a big, gigantic canister. Remember, nuts have natural oils in them. Those oils will eventually make them go bad. So don't buy more than you can eat in a week or two at a time. Then go back and buy more later on so you don't actually create this huge canister that there's no way you're going to polish off within a couple of weeks. All right. So now in this video, I've talked about really easy to find foods that are good for cholesterol, lowering cholesterol, good for heart health, good for gut health as well, good for lowering inflammation. All right. If cholesterol is your main problem for your health, please do talk with your doctor about it. I am a doctor, but I can't be your doctor. So I'm advising you to work with a medical professional to address any concerns with your blood cholesterol and listen to them. You might actually need to be on medicines. All right. That's between you and your doctor to kind of figure it out. If your doctor to guide you, because those medicines can, including statins, can protect you against bad cardiovascular disease. All right. But here's what you should know as well, and your doctor might not discuss this with you, is that you actually have control over your own blood cholesterol, your blood lipids, with what you do at home. And those are the foods that I was talking about in this video. All right. And oh, by the way, want to lower your cholesterol? Here's another thing that you need to do. Move your body. All right. Regular physical activity. All right. Working out, exercising, going for a walk, running, dancing, bicycling, swimming. All these things also work to lower your harmful cholesterol levels. All right. So that's it. I hope you learned something new from this video and you might be inspired to start incorporating some of these heart healthy cholesterol lowering foods into your everyday diet. And if you want to see more like this, don't forget to hit subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Dr. Lee out.
Hi there. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you'll love the next one. Stay here and check it out, and I'll see you there.